Hello and welcome. We're in 9.6 solving rational expressions, and we're going to be doing number 27 on your homework assignment. Now, there's a maximum of time I can actually stay recording these before they ask me to cut them down, so I'm going to have to kind of speed it up a little bit. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is we need to factor the denominator. So the denominator is already factored, so we're just going to go ahead and put parentheses around it. This one doesn't have a denominator, so I'll put a 1, and this guy will have parentheses. Now, the next thing we need to do is get the LCD. So to get the LCD, we need to get a sample from each denominator. So that'll be my first sample, which will be x plus 4. 1, well, we don't normally use 1 because it doesn't do much. And then the next one would be x minus 1. There. We now have our LCD, which came from our denominator. We're now going to multiply each term by the LCD. And what that's going to do is going to eliminate our denominator. So let's begin. 6x times the LCD, which would be x plus 4, x minus 1, over x plus 4, plus 4 times the LCD, x plus 4, x minus 1, over 1. Now finally we're going to have the equal sign, and the last piece we have 2x plus 2, and we're going to multiply that also by the LCD. So we're going to multiply that by x plus 4, x minus 1, and it's going to be over x minus 1. Okay, this looks pretty scary, but it's going to get very simple very quickly. So remember, if you have the same factor on top and the bottom, you can always simplify them. And we actually do. We have an x plus 4. We have an x plus 4 there. Here there's no denominator. Here we have x minus 1, x minus 1. We've just accomplished to cancel our denominator. So I'm going to go ahead and rewrite everything we have left over. But I'm going to go ahead and take advantage, and I'm going to distribute. Instead of just writing, I'm going to distribute. So 6x times x would be 6x squared. Then 6x times negative 1 will be negative 6x. Okay, I took care of that. Okay, and then we have a plus. Well, I won't put a plus. Now the next thing we're going to do is I'm only going to distribute into this piece, and then after I'll multiply by that after. So 4 times x will be positive 4x. 4 times 4 is positive 16. And then right next to it, I'm going to leave the parentheses around it because I'm going to have to multiply it times that. So I'll leave the blue, this blue part still blue because I haven't multiplied it yet. X minus 1. And that is equal to, looks like I'm going to have to do FOIL here. They call it FOIL, or distributive. We're going to do 2x times x will be 2x squared. 2x times 4 would be positive 8x. 2 times x would be positive 2x. And 2 times 4 would be positive 8. Looks like we've accomplished to multiply everything. We're not going to be multiplying that middle term on this very next step. So there goes. I'm going to write this as, I'm going to recopy this as 6x squared minus 6x. Now here I'm going to go ahead and distribute. 4x times x would be positive 4x squared. 4x times negative 1 would be negative 4x. 16 times x would be positive 16x. And 16 times negative 1 would be negative 16. There, I was able to distribute that just fine. I'm going to recopy all this down here. 2x squared plus 8x plus 2x plus 8. There. So now looks like we have all these different little terms. So now the next step we're going to do, and now we're going to start combining like terms. So I'm going to first begin by doing my equal sign, I guess. No. This is going to get a lot smaller. So I'm going to start by combining first my reds. So I'll make my x squares red. What is 6x squared times 4x squared? Well, 6 plus 4 is 10, so I'm going to have 10, and I just rewrite the x squared. Next thing I want to combine would be my x's. So here I have my negative 6x, negative 4x, and positive 16x. All those are like terms, so I'm going to go ahead and combine those. We have here a negative 6x and a negative 4x gives me negative 10x. So a negative 10 and a positive 16, or 16 minus 10 is 6. So I'm going to go ahead and put here a positive 6x. And then finally at the end, we have one number left that's a constant that we don't combine with anything else. That would be negative 16. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and put equals here. Now I'm going to bring all these guys down over here. So I'm just going to rewrite this 2x squared plus, well, this I'm going to rewrite. I can combine that right now, right? So I'm going to go ahead and combine 8x and 2x, giving me 10x, and then I'm going to have the plus 8. Okay, so now it looks like we have, we still have a trinomial and a trinomial. We're going to get rid of this trinomial by subtracting each one of these, and that'll pretty much make a quadratic equal to 0, which is exactly what we're trying to do. So I'm going to go ahead and subtract. I'm going to, opposite of 2x squared would be minus 2x squared. Opposite of positive 10x would be minus 10x, and the opposite of 8 would be minus 8. Now, you do it to the right and you do it to the left, so I'm going to have to subtract 2x squared, same as there. Subtract the 10x, same as there, and I'm going to subtract an 8. Now, notice that every time I put them on top of the same term, because I'm combining like terms. So it looks like we're ready to write our next piece here. So 8 minus 2 is, sorry, 10 minus 2 is 8. So we have 8x squared. Now here we have different signs, so we're going to subtract and keep the sign of the bigger number. 10 minus 6 is 4. My answer is negative 4x. And here they're both negative, so we're going to add and keep the negative, so it'll be negative 24. And all of these cancel, giving me 0. Okay, now we have a simple quadratic, but this quadratic, if you notice, they're all divisible by 2. In other words, you can divide 2 in each one of them. So you definitely want to do that before you try to factor, otherwise you might end up with multiple answers. So I'm going to divide each one of these by 4, 4, 4, and even the 0 gets divided by 4. Every single thing gets divided by 4. So 4 goes into 8 2 times, so I'm left with 2x squared. 4 goes into 4 once, so I have negative 1x. And then 4 goes into 24 6, so I get negative 6, and that's going to be equal to 0. Okay, so it looks like we're almost towards the end now. So what we want to do now is we're going to get factors of 2 and factors of 6. So I'm going to go ahead and do it off to the left. I'll use my blue marker here. So factors of 2 would be 1 times 2, 2 times 1. That's where it repeats. Now I'm going to get factors of 6. 1 times 6, 2 times 3, 3 times 2, and 6 times 1. These repeat right here. If you look closely, 1 times 6, 6 times 1. 2 times 3, 3 times 2. This one starts to repeat here, and this one starts to repeat there. I can take the liberty of canceling one of the repeats, either the left repeat or the right repeat. So it's in my best interest to cancel the bottom half of the right repeats. That way there's less work to do. I could have also canceled the bottom over here, but it's better for me to cancel more. So now I'm going to go ahead and start doing my calculations. I'm going to multiply my outers, then I'm going to multiply my inners, and when I'm done, I'm going to see that if I can add and subtract them so that I am able to get a negative 1. So there goes. 1 times 6 is 6. 2 times 1 is 2. 6 and 2. Will 6 and 2 give me 1? The answer is no. So we're done with this one for now. Now we're going to do the second one. We have 1 times 3 is 3. 2 times 2 is 4. So 3 and 4. Will 3 and 4 give me 1? It will. 3 and 4 will give me 1. As a matter of fact, we're looking for a negative 1. If the 4 is negative, I will end up with that negative 1, which is exactly what we're looking for. So we found a perfect match. I'm going to go ahead and circle them. We're going to use this guy and this guy right here. So those are going to be the ones that are going to go inside the parentheses. So let's proceed. Parentheses, 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 parentheses. and I still have to put it equal to 0. So I'm going to put, these two are going to be in the front of the parentheses. So the 1 goes here, and the 2 goes here. These both go in the front, and these two go in the back of the parentheses. So I'll put a 2 here, and I'll put a 3 here. Because we have an x squared, we have to remember to put x on each one of these. And we're almost done. Because that's a negative, that means these are going to be opposite sign. So I have to make a decision. My decision is going to be to make this one negative and that one positive. Now I do have to double check to see if it works or doesn't work. So let's see here. What is 2x? What is 2x times 2? Negative 4x. What is 3 times 1x? 3x. What do you get when you combine negative 4x and 3x? Do you get negative 1x? The answer is yes. So therefore I know that the signs are correct. I know everything else is probably going to be correct. So next thing what I'm going to do now is I'm going to do the zero product property. So I'm going to go ahead and go around this. And I'm going to continue right there. And I'm ready to finish. So I'm going to go ahead and put x minus 2, 2x minus 3, and it's equal to 0. And the zero product property, as we've been doing for quite some time now, says that we're going to make this guy equal to 0, and we're going to make this guy equal to 0. So let's begin. X minus 2 is equal to 0. And then this one, which is 2x minus 3, is also equal to 0. Now we're going to solve this. This is just pre-algebra, or algebra 1. We're going to go ahead and we're going to add 2 to the left, and we're going to add 2 to the right. Notice how our 2's cancel. Sorry, I have so many colors here. Notice how our 2's cancel here. I'm left with x is equal to 2. Same over here. On this side over here, I'm going to add a 3 to the left. I'm going to add a 3 to the right. By the way, that's a 0, not a 6. And what do I get? Well, these will cancel. I'm left with 2x is equal to 3. Oh, see, that's a positive. I put a negative, so I'm sorry. I got to make sure I put a positive. Whoops, sorry about that, guys. Good thing I caught it, though. That way we'd have the right answer. So if that's a positive, then this has to be a negative and a negative. So therefore, this will be a negative. Sorry about that. And then finally, I'm going to go and divide by 2. Divide by 2. My 2's cancel. My answer is x is equal to negative 3 over 2. I have both of my answers to this. Now you do have to plug these into the original equation to see which ones work. Because you can possibly get extraneous solutions, which means one of these might not work. Maybe neither of them will work. So definitely go in and plug them in to make sure they work. But I've checked the book, and these are the correct answers. So thank you. Bye-bye.